Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from whatever time zone you may be in. This is Off the Grid Podcast with Aiden and Jared.
Getting all always access to the truth. Alright, so Jared, how can they find us in case they don't know?
Well, you can find our podcast on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to subscribe to either one of those channels to be notified for future content. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Also, be sure to leave us a comment on our YouTube channel or rate us on Apple Podcasts. And if you have any questions or suggestions for future podcasts, you can email us at offthegridpodcast@gmail.com. If you share our podcast, that will really help our channel grow.
Yes, and my music real quick, guys. Haven't put out anything recently, but I came up with an idea, so I'm making something right now, so stay tuned for that. And that's all there is for that. So, Jared, what are we going to be talking about tonight?
We're going to be talking about Flight 370, which is the Malaysia Airlines flight that went missing in 2014. Mystery that's not really officially solved. They haven't exactly figured out what the problem was and to why the plane disappeared.
Right.
There's multiple theories of what could have happened to the plane, and we're going to go into that in this podcast. So we're going to talk about all the different possibilities, or at least that we can think of off the top of our head.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we're going to explain what we know happened for sure, timeline and stuff, and then we're going to talk about what we think happened. So so the theory part's going to be entertaining because there's going to be some out of the world kind of theories here, Mm-hmm. And no pun intended, but out of this world is exactly what it is, and you'll find out. Yeah, we'll find out why we said that in particular. So. Alright, so what is Malaysian Airlines Flight 70? Well, Malaysian Airlines Flight 70, also known as MH370 or simply Flight 370, was an international passenger flight that mysteriously disappeared on March 8th, 2014 while on a scheduled flight from Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia to its destination at Beijing Capital International Airport in China. According to the official flight manifest, 239 people were on board, 227 of which were passengers and 12 were crew. 6 were from Australia, 2 from Canada, 153 from China, which that's almost like half the passengers, so that's a little bit
because it was headed towards Beijing.
Yeah. 4 from France, 5 from India, 7 from Indonesia, 2 from Iran, 50 from Malaysia, 1 from the Netherlands, 2 from New Zealand, 1 from Russia, 1 from Taiwan, not Taiwan,
Taiwan. Wow.
Taiwan, excuse me. 1 from Taiwan.
Taiwan and Iran combined to start one country together. Yay, there's second mess up.
Oh no. 1 from Taiwan, excuse me. 2 from Ukraine and 3 from the United States. I can't believe I said Taiwan. That's awesome.
That's beautiful.
I know.
Sorry.
Leading to a total of 227 passengers. All the 12 crewmen, meanwhile, were all from Malaysia. I'm sorry, you guys are dying.
Can't take Aiden seriously.
Oh, man.
You can't even get through one paragraph without a problem.
Taiwan. It has been dubbed as the greatest aviation mystery of all time.
Which it actually is, because it's weird. You would think with today's technology we'd be able to find it. Now, think about the Titanic. When it sunk, went missing, people were worried about, okay, is the citizens actually that were on the boat, are they safe? And
obviously not.
They were worrying about that. They weren't worrying about where the boat was. And then when they went back to try to find where the boat was at, it's just like they couldn't find the exact location.
73 years later, we found it.
Technology at that time in the early 1900s when it sank,
didn't allow.
It didn't allow for us to look. Or to find it as easily. And now it's like we got, really good radar and, all this GPS tracking and all this stuff. You'd think...
Which we're going to go into when we talk about, all this.
Yeah. You'd think that we'd be able to find the flight, and yet it's still missing. And it's been, it's 2019 now.
So it's
2014.
Been 5 years now.
Yeah.
5 years.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Almost a decade. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, that's a lot of time to
pass. How
does
a flight just vanish off the face of the earth? With today's technology, like you said, how does that happen?
It doesn't make any sense to me, honestly. There's a lot of different theories behind that, but but there's things that we know for sure about the flight.
Yes.
We can contemplate all day long about we can just come up with random theories like, oh crap, the mummies carried the plane into the water or some stupid thing like that, or Poseidon came out of the ocean, grabbed the plane, and pulled it down. I don't know, some stupid thing like that.
Hell itself opened up and swallowed the plane. Like something like that. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's just all sorts of weird things like that. But what we know for sure, Flight 370 was a Boeing 777, which took off from Kuala International Airport at 12:35 a.m.
So it's a late flight.
Yeah, and it was scheduled. That is a really it's an early flight, I guess, depending how you look at it. But
yeah,
it was scheduled.
Can help too.
Yeah, it was scheduled to arrive at Beijing at 6:30 a.m., making the total flight time 5 hours and 34 minutes.
Yeah,
the plane was 11 years old at the time of the disappearance and had absolutely no previous incidents.
And let me tell you guys, this is important because it'll say it too in the notes, but I want to say also that the plane itself had enough fuel to last for 7 hours and 31 minutes. So you'll see why that's important.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be asking yourself, well, how did the disappearance actually happen? You know, what was the structure of how it happened? Well, we're going to tell you. Okay, so this is the timeline of events. Well, the first thing we're going to talk about is the departure, because obviously that's what all planes do.
Right.
On the one way and they take off, so here
it just hovers off the ground, you know?
No, it just
zips into the sky.
There is a plane that does that. It is a fighter jet. It's called the Harrier. It's called a VTOL. VTOL. Vertical takeoff and landing. So it just goes straight up and go. So it's kind of cool. Like a UFO. Okay, so this is the departure, guys, obviously. Yeah. Okay, so Flight 370 was a scheduled flight in the early morning of 8th of March 2014 from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia to Beijing, China, as we said. It was one of 2 daily flights operated by Malaysia Airlines from its hub at Kuala Lumpur International Airport to Beijing Capital International Airport. Scheduled to depart at 0:35 local time, which would be 8 o'clock, I think, in our time, and arrive at 6:30 local time. On board were 227 passengers, 10 cabin crew, 2 pilots, and 31,537 pounds of cargo. The planned flight duration was 5 hours and 34 minutes, which would consume an estimated 82,000 pounds of jet fuel. The aircraft carried the aircraft carried 108,200 pounds of fuel, including reserves, allowing an endurance of 7 hours and 31 minutes. Now, this is why that's important. The extra fuel was enough to divert to alternate airports. You know what I mean?
So they could have landed, is what you're saying?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And to those 2 airports, I don't know names, because there's a lot of names, which, actually I'll try Jane International Airport and Hangzhou Zhaosheng. That's pretty good. International Airport, which would require 10,600 pounds or 23,600 pounds respectively to reach from Beijing. So yes, Joe, you're right. That extra fuel means that they could have landed in an alternate airport. So what happened? You know? Why didn't they use up that extra fuel and...
Didn't it say something about the flight path, how it diverted and went a different way?
Yeah, it did divert, but not to any airport, so...
there was airports nearby, though, when it diverted?
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's the departure. Everything was normal at that time, obviously, when it departed. It just took off, so the passengers were just sitting on the plane, everything was going normal. And then, Jared, the communications are lost, right?
Yeah. The aircraft's final automated position report and last transmission using the aircraft communications addressing and reporting system protocol was sent at 1:06. I'm not sure exactly what.
1:06 a.m.
Yeah. Among the data provided in the message was total fuel remaining, which was 96,600 pounds.
Yeah.
And the final verbal signal to air traffic control occurred at 1:19, when Captain Shaw acknowledged a transition from Lumpur radar to Ho Chi Minh.
Which is an airport.
Yeah. Which actually my girlfriend went into that airport. Lumpur radar, Malaysian 370, contact to Ho Chi Minh 120.9, good night.
And then Flight 370 responded,
good night, Malaysian 370.
So basically those are the last transmissions that was ever sent.
Yep, and the crew was expected to signal air traffic control in Ho Chi Minh City as the aircraft passed into Vietnamese airspace, just north of the point where contact was lost. The captain of another aircraft attempted to signal the crew of Flight 370 just after, using the international distress frequency, that was at
1:30. So
which it's actually really interesting because that another aircraft was trying to contact him. You know, that's kind of weird. Normally, you don't think about that as much. You just think of air traffic control talking back to the plane, you know, and like they have their own separate channels or whatever.
Well, I mean, there are ways for pilots to communicate with each other throughout different aircraft, but that doesn't happen usually. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no reason to.
Yeah. Maybe an emergency, but I mean...
So to relay Vietnamese air traffic control's request for the crew to contact them, the captain said he was able to establish communication but only heard mumbling and static.
Oh.
Which, does that mean that there was some problem with how the crew members were acting? Like they weren't feeling right and they couldn't, talk to him, right?
This goes into one of the theories that we have.
Yeah, we're going to get into it.
Yeah.
Something with their minds.
Yeah.
Calls made to Flight 370's cockpit at 2:39 and 7:13 were unanswered, but acknowledged by the aircraft satellite data unit. Yeah, so that means that
how many hours was that in between 2:39 and 7:13? That was about 4 hours, I think.
Yeah.
About 4 hours. So I was wondering for 4 hours, what were they doing in that time?
Yeah, you kind of wonder.
Yeah.
That raises a lot of suspicion as to how,
you can turn on the transponder lever and you can flip the transponder on and just say something.
Yeah, just let them know you're okay.
Let them know you're alive. Like, hey, we're just eating chips in here.
Or let them know there's something wrong and
yeah.
It's like
pilot's having a heart attack or something like that. Yeah.
It's very suspicious.
Yeah, because they were trained. I mean, all pilots are trained to
deal with this type of stuff all the time.
Radio for help. I was gonna say radio for help in case if something goes wrong. They have to. It's by law.
Yeah, they can't just deal with it on their own. I mean, they got like protocols and stuff that that they can do on their own. But yeah. And they have to tell what's going on because, if something was to happen to the plane, another reason is that we can find it.
It's not just you guys you got to worry about on that plane,
Yeah.
It's 227 passengers too, so it's not just your lives you got to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so speaking of aircraft satellite data, something happened with the radar of it too, and I'm going to explain what that is. So at 1:20, Flight 370 was observed on radar at the Kuala Lumpur ACC as it passed the navigational waypoint in the Gulf of Thailand. 5 seconds later, the Mode S symbol disappeared from radar screens. And at 1:21, Flight 370 disappeared from the radar screen at Kuala Lumpur ACC and was lost. About the same time on radar was Ho Chi Minh ACC, which reported that the aircraft was at the nearby waypoint BITOD. So that's also suspicious. Do you want to tell you what just happened in case you didn't get that?
Sure, go ahead.
Both the radars went out at the same time. So I think that's what that's saying. So air traffic control uses secondary radar, which relies on a signal emitted by a transponder on each aircraft. Therefore, the transponder was no longer functioning on Flight 370 after 1:21.
Wait, why would it just stop functioning is the question.
Someone smashed it? Someone broke it on purpose? Someone took it out, I mean, that's the only reason I can come up with. Okay, so the final transponder data indicated that the aircraft was flying at its assigned cruise altitude. Assigned cruise altitude of flight level 350 and was traveling at 542 miles per hour. There were few clouds around this point and no rain or lightning nearby. Later analysis estimated that Flight 370 had 91,500 pounds of fuel when it disappeared from secondary radar. So it had a lot of fuel left. First of all.
So that alleviates any of the suspicion about, they ran out of fuel. Because, I mean, but it's proven that there's fuel.
It did lose all its fuel, though, because it wasn't in the air for that long. So it did eventually use up all its fuel. Which I don't even know why didn't they freaking land. Why didn't they freaking,
Yeah, it's very suspicious.
This is before they diverted. So,
yeah.
I'm sorry to say this, but this sounds like another 9/11 to me.
Yeah, except they didn't crash it into a building, but they just probably committed suicide and happened to kill everybody else with them.
Yeah, wanted to take people with them, yep. Alright, so I think this is when it diverts. At that time, the transponder stopped functioning. Military radar showed. So this was military radar. All that's happened before, that's all the normal radar, dude, okay? That's all the air traffic control radar. Now, the air traffic control radar can't detect them, but the military radar can. So this is what's happening now, okay? This is what the military radar. So, at the time that the transponder stopped functioning, military radar showed Flight 370 turning right, but then beginning a left turn to a southwesterly direction. From 1:30 and 1:35 until 1:35, military radar showed Flight 370 at 35,700 feet on a 231-degree magnetic heading with a ground speed of 571 miles per hour. Flight 370 continued across the Malay Peninsula, fluctuating between 31,000 and 33,000 feet in altitude. A civilian primary radar at Sultan Ismail Petra Airport with a 69-mile range made 4 detections of an unidentified aircraft between 1:30 and 1:52. The tracks of the unidentified aircraft are consistent with those of the military data. Okay, that's interesting. At 1:52, Flight 370 was detected passing just south of the island of Penang. From there, the aircraft flew across the Strait of Malacca, passing close to the waypoint VAMPI, and Palu Perak at 2:03, after which it flew on air route N571 to waypoints MEKAR and NILAM, and possibly IGOGU. We don't know what that means, so if there's any air traffic people listening to this, can you comment and say what that means, because we don't know. That would help, wouldn't it, Jared?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The last known radar detection from a point near the limits of Malaysian military radar was at 2:22, 12 miles after passing waypoint MEKAR, which is 273 miles from Penang, and 284.6 miles northwest of Penang Airport, at an altitude of 29,500 feet. So, holy crap, they dropped 3,000 feet, dude.
Wow.
In the time between, because it was at 33,000, and then it was find it. Yeah, it was like at 33,000 feet, so,
Wow.
Yeah, so why did it drop so much? I'm gonna know first. So, continuing here. Countries were reluctant to release information collected from military radar because of sensitivity about revealing their capabilities. Indonesia has an early warning radar system, but its air traffic control radar did not register any aircraft with the transponder code used by Flight 370, despite the aircraft possibly having flown near or over the northern tip of Sumatra. Indonesian military radar tracked Flight 370 earlier when en route to waypoint IGARI before the transponder was thought to have been turned off, but did not provide information on whether it was detected afterwards. Thailand and Vietnam also detected Flight 370 radar before the transponder stopped working. The radar position symbols for the transponder code used by Flight 370 vanished after the transponder was thought to have been turned off. Thai military radar detected an aircraft that might have been Flight 370, but it's not known what time the last radar contact was made. The signal did not include identifying data. The flight was also not detected by Australia's conventional or its long-range Joint Over-the-Horizon radar system, which has an official range of 3,000 kilometers, the latter not being in operation on the night of the disappearance.
So there's other countries that are having the same type of data coming back to them, or no data. I mean, some places they think, okay, like Thailand says, wasn't it Thailand that thought, okay, they possibly picked up a signal.
Yeah.
But they're not sure if it was Flight 370 or not.
Then Australia says we have absolutely nothing. Like stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's some countries that
have a lot, some countries have absolutely nothing.
Yeah, so it could be that some of the planes, or the Flight 370 specifically, did not fly over or close enough to those countries for that to pick it up.
This makes me think it had to be a very, very specific flight path.
Like they had it
to be detected by some, but not others. So for it to be detected by some radar, but not others, it had to be very specific. A very specific flight path,
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah.
Well, and it's kind of hard to visualize it in my head, the flight path, unless I had like a map and followed it with my finger and trying to figure out exactly, what path it took. Because I'm more of a visual learner, not
me too, yeah.
So
that's why we're watching documentaries, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll move. I'm gonna move on to the search portion of it. So we'll see how much time. I may have to cut it off into part 2, but we can start in. The initial search took place in Southeast Asia in March of 2014. And so this is after the plane went missing and
supposedly crashed or whatever. We don't know. We don't even know if it crashed. I mean,
it could have, Aiden, for all we know, it could have landed safely somewhere, and they're just out of fuel. There was another theory I forgot to add on to the list. They could have landed out in like a forest or a jungle type setting.
Well, we can talk about that then.
We can bring that up again later. Yeah. But it seems like they could have they possibly could have landed safely, and they're just out of contact from humankind.
Yeah. Out of contact from humankind. I like that, Gio. I like the way you ordered that. That's awesome.
So on March 9th, the Chief General of the Royal Malaysian Air Force announced that Malaysia was analyzing military radar recordings, and there was a possibility that Flight 370 had turned around and traveled over the Andaman Sea, which I'm not exactly sure where that is off the top of my head.
That's somewhere in the Indian Ocean, because when we do research, that video said that it crashed somewhere in the Indian Ocean, so it's somewhere around there.
The search was increased from originally being 23 miles south of Tho Cho Island to being 120 miles, which extended to the Strait of Malacca along the west coast of the Malay Peninsula. On March 10th, the Royal Malaysian Air Force confirmed that Flight 370 did indeed make a turn back
Which means that it went...
Yeah, so basically a U-turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the following day, China activated the International Charter Space and Major Disasters to aggregate satellite data to aid in the search. And on March 12th, Malaysian officials announced that an unidentified aircraft, possibly Flight 370, was last seen by military radar at 2:15 in the Andaman Sea. In the Andaman Sea, not above the Andaman Sea.
Which means that
it crashed
underwater.
320 kilometers northwest of Penang Island and near the limits of the military's radar coverage.
That's what gets me suspicious. That's at the very edges. Pilots don't go near the edges of radar very often, unless they're trying to avoid them for some reason.
Yeah, that's really starting to narrow down some of the theories as to what could have actually happened.
Yeah.
The focus of the search shifted to the Andaman Sea, obviously, because it was proven that it possibly, or at least suspected that they crashed.
It's not proven.
Proven would mean that we know for sure.
You have to remember, dude, it's 5 years into this search, and we don't even know as much as we should. Remember that. We don't know nearly as much 5 years later.
And the weird thing is, if it actually did crash into the Andaman Sea, then why didn't they recover anything from the Andaman Sea? Like, the whole entire plane.
Yeah.
They reportedly found pieces of the plane.
Yeah.
But they haven't found the whole thing. Or if there's any bodies, they haven't recovered any bodies from it. Like, I mean, the bodies are probably all like...
No, dude. The bodies blew up. They're not existent. I'm sorry to say that. The bodies are hitting the ocean at that altitude. The bodies would explode. Like a freaking I'm sorry to say it's like a balloon. It actually would. They would just explode.
Yeah, the pressure, water pressure.
There'd be no limbs or just vaporize. Yeah, so... I mean, you might see the blood in the water, but that's it. I mean...
So,
that's sad.
The Malaysian government requested help from India to help search the area. On March 17th, the search became international as 11 countries joined search efforts.
Yep.
These parties included Australia, Bangladesh, Brunei, Cambodia, China, France, India, Indonesia, Japan, Myanmar, New Zealand, Norway, Philippines, Russia, Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, the UAE, the UK, the US, and Vietnam.
All 11 countries, yeah.
That's a lot of countries to help on this.
That's good.
That's nice that people... Yeah. It's nice to know that people will work together.
And
to find for a single cause.
And we still haven't found as much as we wanted, but also, we didn't put this in notes, but it was also the most costly search ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the most costly search for anything, whether it was a plane or a boat. I think it costs more than the Titanic search, I think. Dude, I mean, so, like, it's the most costly search for anything, dude. So, I mean, it's for sure the costliest aviation search.
Mm-hmm.
So,
definitely.
They keep spending money on it, so I think it's over $1 billion at least, which is a lot of money.
Yeah, and one flight that always interests me, and
I was just about to say it too. Yes.
And that was another reason why both Aiden and I wanted to do it, was that I was always interested in Amelia Earhart.
Yeah.
I know that Aiden's interested in it, so am I.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we could even do an Amelia Earhart podcast and just talk about like the disappearance and it's like
suspect DNA gathered from, because there were reports about that and stuff.
Yeah, there's like, I don't know,
and the Bermuda Triangle and all that.
Yeah, there's been reports that they actually found the body in like a campfire where they could have
where she could have
been
pilot could have made camp, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but
that's interesting. Yeah,
because she didn't go alone on that trip.
No, she had a co-pilot.
Yeah. So, so it's weird. That was one thing that always interested me, and like I read a book in middle school about Amelia Earhart, and
you just became interested from there. You just like...
Yeah, I'm interested. I've always been interested in history, and if you listen to the other...
Can you imagine if you found the flight once? Like, can you imagine if you were like an archaeologist and you found the plane? Can you imagine?
Oh, heck yeah, you'd make headlines and be like...
You'd be rich, dude. And if you found a body and stuff, you'd be like a millionaire.
And you'd be in press conferences and all that, like, discussing what happened.
A piece of the plane, like, like, oh my gosh, that'd be awesome, dude.
I know. So, but if you listen to the rest of our podcasts, you'll know that I'm a history guy. So is Aiden.
Oh yeah.
And so this is the types of stuff that I like.
That we get fired up about. Yeah.
Yeah. So and going back to the Malaysian air flight here.
This is like a modern version of that, kind of.
It kind of is, and we don't know if it's going to be one that will basically be unsolved. I mean, I don't know if it's really proven that Amelia Earhart has ever been found necessarily.
Yeah.
There's been speculations that these bones are Amelia Earhart's, but I honestly don't know if they found it.
Yeah. So do you think?
I think that we're possibly gonna have to move into part 2 before of the search.
Yes. So we will leave that.
We'll leave it as it is right now, and then see us next week for part 2. And so
it's been off the grid,
guys.
Bye.
See ya.